here's the big question of today. Why are we insecure? See, insecurity is operating outside of God's best for your life, which is to be secure in who you are in Him. And I think for every single one of us, insecurity can be wrapped up in this statement: I am not blank enough. And see, I think every single one of us on some level playing field, we are insecure about something. Every single one of us in this room at some point or another, when we've looked ourselves in the mirror, we've had that thought: I am not blank enough. And I don't know who you are in the room, but we want to talk about tonight actually how you can deal with your insecurity. Because the reality is there is a better life for you on the other side of whatever you see in the mirror when you go home tonight. That your perceived identity is not who you truly are. And we want to see you guys actually step into the calling that God has for you, which is to be sons and daughters of God. That there's a better life for you. But in order for us to actually step into that, you need to understand, why and what this thing of insecurity actually is. And right now we are saturated in a culture that breeds and perpetuates insecurity. Like right now, unlike ever before, we live in a culture where God's messages are coming at us from every direction about what we need to look like, what we need to wear, how we need to act, how our home needs to look, how our family needs to look. There's never been a time more in history that we've been told and boxed into the life that we're supposed to live. We're told how we're supposed to live from our parents, from our coaches, from our pastors, from our friends. And as a generation, it's so easy for us to become so boxed in that we have to be perfect in order to have peace. And I don't know where you are on the insecure spectrum, but I guarantee you by the end of tonight, you'll realize that there is parts of your life that you may be insecure about. And even talking to our interns today about this topic, one of the biggest topics that came up is that, we as leaders, we as people, and especially people in school, we're insecure about our body image and our appearance. That we're not satisfied with the person we see in the mirror because we're overweight. We're not satisfied with the person that we've become because we're underweight. We're not satisfied with who we are because we don't have perfect skin. Rather, we have acne all over it. Like, we're not satisfied with who we are because we're too pale, we're too dark, we're too skinny, we're too fat. Our legs are too short and our torso's too large. Or vice versa, your legs are too long and your torso's too small. Your head's too big that you wear a size 9 hat. Your nose is so big that you can smell the sniff of Kansas. We are insecure about the way we look and the way that we appear to other people. And for some of us in here, we're insecure about our performance. We're insecure about how we played on Friday night. We're insecure about the fact that we didn't practice well enough, so we couldn't even play on a Friday night. We're insecure about the fact that we're not pretty enough or talented enough to even place in our pageant. We're insecure about the fact that we are understudies, even though we wanted to get the main part in a play. And we live in a culture of performance to where you have to be perfect. And if you're not perfect, and if you don't perform perfectly, well, then your identity is going to suffer because you are what you do, right? And then some of us were insecure about our social and relationship status. That because we're not the popular ones, we are less than. Because we're single, we're not good enough to be in a relationship. Because we're in a relationship, we see somebody else in a relationship, and we're insecure in that relationship because she looks better than the girl that I'm currently dating. Guys, we're insecure about our possessions, that other people have it better than us. They have a nicer car. They got a newer car on their 16th birthday, and you got a piece of crap. Their home has all sorts of stuff for them to hang out and play, and you never want to hang out at your house because you don't have anything. Guys, we live in a generation that is flooding with insecurity. And I think so many times for us, we think, well, if we had it all together, then it would be enough. And you need to understand that that is not the truth. Because even the people in our world who seemingly have it all together are insecure about something. Celebrities, the people that we look up to, the people that we aspire to be, social media influencers, whoever, they are living a life that seems to have it all together, but at the same time, they're insecure about something. For example, Anna Kendrick, she says, I get insecure about everything. I'm still bewildered when people know my name or my face. I can't figure out what they would possibly want to talk to me about. She struggles with insecurity for not being important enough. That regardless of how many dollar signs or come with the movies that she's made, she's insecure. Ryan Reynolds, he says, I feel like an overweight, pimply-faced kid a lot of the time. See, he doesn't feel like he's handsome or good enough. Jennifer Lopez says, the biggest insecurity I had was my singing. That even though I've sold 70 million records, there was this feeling like, I'm not good at this. See, even with all of her success, with all the money that is tied to her name, she is not good enough. And guys, you need to understand if you deal with insecurity, you're not alone. But the question that you have to ask yourself is, even if your statement that you play in your head is true, even if that other person is better looking than you, even if you could have a little bit less pimples on your face if you just took a shower, like even what you're believing is true, what is the problem with insecurity? Because I think so long we normalize, like we talked about last week, what we're insecure about, and so we just let it fester in our head, and so we become what we think. But what's the problem with it? Like, what is bound to happen if we continue to live out of what we're insecure about? Well, the answer to that question can be found in this question. Guys, what kind of life do you want to live? Because you need to understand that you will ultimately live out of your perceived identity. Like, guys, you are going to live out of the reality that you see when you look at yourself in the mirror. That if you look at yourself as a failure, guys, you are bound to fail. That if you look at yourself as if like somebody who's never going to amount to anything, guys, you're not going to amount to anything. Now, let's look at what the Bible says about this in Proverbs 23:7. It says, as a man or woman, as they think in their heart, so is he. Like, as you think in your heart, whatever you think about yourself, you are going to become. Like, whatever you behold, when you look at yourself, when you view yourself, when you think about yourself, that is inevitably what you're going to live out of. And you need to understand, guys, here that every single one of us, we believe that you got mad potential for your life. Like, you are not what you do. You are not the thoughts you think. You are not the actions that you did. You are not what might be in your pocket right now. You are not what people think you are. But man, you're a son and daughter of God. The Bible says that because Jesus died for you, he looks at you, God, as his pure son. And you need to understand that the best life is possible for you. Like, whatever life you long to live, the Bible says that God can do exceedingly more than that. And that's possible for you right now. But what you need to get is that the thief of the best life for you is the very thing that you're insecure about in your life. Like, the thief of the best life, it's what's found in the thing that you're insecure about in your life. Like, I want you to go ahead and think about right now, when you look at yourself in the mirror, like, whatever it is that you see, that is what you are going to become. And so the question that you've got to understand, and this thing we're going to wrestle with tonight, is how do we become secure? Like, how do we move out of being insecure, and how do we actually become secure? Like, how can we become people, like right now, like regardless of how imperfect you may think you are, how can you become somebody who is so grounded in who they are that on any given day they can still stand firm in who they are? And I think for every single one of us, you need to understand this one thought and this one idea. Man, it's that you are enough. Like, at the end of the day, whatever you fill in that blank with, I am not blank enough, you need to understand the truth for every single one of you is that you are enough. Like, whatever you did, you are enough. Like, whatever she said about you, you are enough. Whatever that spam Instagram page says about you, you are enough. Whatever your parents did to you last, you are enough. And the reason that I have the authority to say that is not because I've walked in your shoes, because I've been your age, but I have not walked in some of you guys' shoes. The abuse that you guys have experienced, the pain, the hurt, I have not been there. But I serve a God who, the Bible says, man, that he knows our weakness and he understands our pain. And it literally says of every single one of us that this, in Colossians 2:9-10, it says, in Jesus Christ lives the fullness of God, and we are complete in him. And what that means is in the person of Jesus Christ who died for us, that the fullness of God lives in him. All the peace you could ever long for, all the joy you could ever long for, it lives in him, and we are complete in him. And so that means when you feel like a failure, you are actually a success. When you feel like you're less than, a better identity is awaiting you. You need to understand that you are enough. And just like a tree that can be so rooted in the ground that when a hurricane comes through, it still stands strong, that's possible for you. Like, imagine a life right now, tomorrow morning, where you're able to walk into school, having done something the night before that got blasted all over social media, and everybody knows your deepest, darkest secret. You walk into a school where you're failing every grade, where you flunked the exam, so now you have to repeat the grade, that you just got broken up with, that every single person is staring at you, that you can't even sit at the lunch table you used to sit at anymore because of what you did. Imagine a life where all that stuff would happen to you, and yet you were still secure in who you were. Imagine a life to where you can walk in school when the whole school is pointing at you, and you can still stand strong and be grounded in who you are and have a smile on your face and be at peace, regardless if the whole world is against you. Because the truth of this life and what you guys know is middle school and high school is hard. And following Jesus, coming to church, all this stuff, it is not going to make your life easy. Typically, it's going to make it harder because now the fact that you've signed up for your purpose in life, you now pose a threat. Chances are it's going to get harder for you. But what you need to understand is it's a whole lot more important what's in here than what's out here. And it's so possible for you to become so secure in who you are in Jesus that the whole world can be pointing at you, laughing at you, saying such and such about you, but you can still be at peace because of who you are. And that's found when you understand that no matter what you do, you are complete in him. So this week, whenever you begin to look at yourself in the mirror, or you hear about what you did, or you're confronted with the reality of the destruction that you caused, remember, you are not what you did. You're not what you think. You are complete. You are enough. You're enough.